Before I even came to college, I definitely knew that I wanted to study abroad, and I had a general idea of where I wanted to study abroad. I took Spanish a lot in high school, so I wanted to go somewhere that was a Spanish-speaking country so I'd be able to practice my Spanish language. And then my second study abroad, I'm Danish by heritage. My mom's Danish, and so I wanted to go to Denmark to study there to get a better feel of the culture.
I didn't really choose the study abroad program per se. It wasn't an established program. I'm part of the co-op program, and I knew that for my last co-op I really wanted to go to Australia. And so I just started pulling contacts every way I could find them, classmates, friends, anyone who'd ever been to Australia, asking them for their impressions and any contacts that they might have. And one of the girls in our co-op program had actually worked in Australia, and so I pulled her contact information and got in touch with her boss and sent out 40 plus cover letters and resumes and everything, and eventually landed a job in Perth in Western Australia. So I like to think that Perth kind of picked me.
I chose my location based on cities that I knew were very involved in fashion or had a large fashion scene, so to speak. So London was one that was a good choice for me because I was just out of my first year of college, and I didn't have much experience in any foreign language. England, London in particular, being a fashion capital of Europe, seemed like the best fit.
I chose my program and location by determining how many credit hours I could get, which program offered the most credit hours. And I chose the location pretty much because I always wanted to travel to France, so I felt like if I can pretty much go over there, study, and see Europe, it was like killing two birds with one stone.
Well, some of the factors that led me to decide on going to Amsterdam were the location, being that it's in Northern Europe with lots of opportunities to go and travel and visit other cities. And I also thought that the other thing too that really convinced me to go to Amsterdam was the history and just the built environment.
I decided on my study abroad option just by research. I met with a study abroad advisor in the UC International Study Abroad office, and she kind of helped me explore some options. I really wanted to go to Australia, but she kind of asked me to look other places so I won't narrow down one specific search. So I really wanted to go to Australia, so I really wanted to make it possible going to Australia. So she gave me a lot of books on Australia and kind of helped me narrow down the programs, if I want to do an internship versus study abroad, how my credits would transfer depending on the program I did, and just the basic research steps involved in, trying to go abroad.
With Amsterdam, a lot less preparation than with Brazil, because with Brazil being there was a language barrier, there was some preparation with trying to learn at least some Portuguese, so the transition would be easier. And also the culture in Brazil was a little bit more of a difference than with Amsterdam.
Actually, before I wanted to go to Ghana, I was set on going to Spain. I've always wanted to go to Spain. And I was set on going to Spain, and then I said, well, let me look at some other countries. Then I heard somebody mention Ghana. I'm like, well, Ghana, it's a very culture-rich country. Let me look into that. And when I was researching the programs, I just fell in love. Like, I'll get to teach English or I'll get to either teach English or work in an orphanage for X amount of weeks. And, for one, it was a very cheap, just because their society it's very cheap society. So the program was very cheap to apply to, and it was just something I wanted to do. I've always wanted to go to Africa, and Ghana was just I've heard so many things about Ghana, and I just wanted to see it for myself.
For Denmark, I knew I wanted to go there, but I did a lot of research to decide on which program, partly because it's an expensive country, and so any program I did would be kind of expensive. So I wanted to make sure that it was something affordable, something that offered classes that I could take. I wanted to be there for a year. I was there for a full year, and so I wanted it to be something that provided a good experience the whole time, and so that's why I decided on DIS, and that worked out really well. I thought that was a great program.
In terms of preparation before I left, I kind of studied some of the French customs. I wouldn't say I took a crash course on French, but I ordered like a Rosetta Stone, so I could kind of defeat the language barrier. And that was pretty much it. Just try to get myself more accustomed to French culture.
My housing in France, I lived with a host family, which I wanted to, from the beginning, stay with the host family because I knew that it would be a really great way to get a first-hand experience with the culture, and I thought it'd be really great, especially if they had family members or children. I could kind of feed off of them and get practice with my speaking.
For my housing experience in Korea, I lived in a dorm, and that was awesome. So I really enjoyed it. It was pretty much like students from all over the world. Basically, we had to we had the opportunity of interacting together and stuff. And then the school is pretty much like located in the heart of Seoul. So basically, we still had like interaction with Korean students, and then the Korean indigenes that are actually like living in Seoul.
I actually enjoyed my host family. She was a single divorced mother, so we were pretty much like her kids when we were there. She cooked for us. She actually cleaned our rooms. She did our laundry. So by the time I came back, I was ready to go back to France, so I wouldn't have to do laundry anymore.
With Brazil, like I said, it was only 3,000, but none of your scholarships really were applied for that trip. With Amsterdam, all of my scholarships that I had normally applied, so I didn't apply for any extra international scholarships, although I could have. And then with the rest of the cost for Amsterdam, I would say that the living expenses were a little bit higher, and then I had to have money for travel, so that was an additional expense. But beyond just being willing to pay a little more for rent and a little more for food, it really wasn't too much of a stretch.
I felt like it was very, very affordable. I received several scholarships and grants, and my financial aid from like my Pell Grant transferred over through the summer. I also did several fundraisers, so to speak. I got sponsors from members of my fraternity, family members, and just different teachers and people on campus.
Paying for this endeavor posed a few problems, but it was something that going into study abroad I knew I had to face. So I started making a budget, and with that budget I figured a lot of it would be paid for by student loans. I am a tuition remission student here at the University of Cincinnati, and one of the great perks of being a tuition remission student is that if you are to study abroad, you are able to apply for the money that you're receiving for that remission, and you can apply it to study abroad, so long as that every credit you are receiving while you're abroad works towards your degree. So ultimately, I was given the equivalent of 1 quarter's tuition, and they sent it directly over to London College of Fashion. So that was an easy way to pick up a couple $1,000s. Also, through the International Studies Office, I did apply for a grant, their study abroad grant, and I was accepted as one of the candidates and received a little bit of funding from there, and then the rest was paid for by student loans.
I applied for many scholarships when I went to Australia, and it was actually, since I wasn't taking classes, it was actually more expensive to intern there, just because of placement in the school and then FBI checks. I mean, all the things that go into teaching abroad I had to do. But I did apply through the UC International Office, and I did apply through my programs to get those scholarships, and also apply through church and fundraising and stuff like that. So funding it took a lot of work, but I think I researched. I could have done a little bit of better job researching, but I think that having the mindset that I did want to go motivated me to want to research scholarship opportunities.
The tuition at DIS was actually cheaper than the out-of-state tuition that I usually pay, and we got study abroad grants and everything like that. But then at the end, obviously all the travel that you would do is kind of on you. So kind of took a lot of savings from co-op and things like that and put it towards going and traveling around Europe. So that's kind of how I funded that. And then when I was in Australia, most of my funding came from my job. I was making money doing my internship, and so I was able to save up money doing that and then put that all towards traveling afterwards. So I came home and I just about broke even in terms of what I spent and what I earned. A lot of the courses were geared towards Scandinavian design, and so it was giving us a different culture's version of how they do design, and it was really interesting because they approach it much differently, but the Scandinavians have a really great reputation for doing just beautiful, beautiful work. And then, like I said, we studied in Sweden and Finland as well, and so we were able to travel and see all these famous architecture buildings and see what the famous architects had done, and it was a great way to sort of see the things that we've been studying for the past couple of years and see it in real life and sort of make the connections there between what we had talked about in class here and then what we actually got to see in real life.
A lot of the courses I took over there were European business courses, and being an international business major, they pretty much went hand in hand. I also took a international marketing course over there, which is also my second major. So all the classes I took over there pretty much transferred to classes that I would have to take here.
In terms of what courses I took and how it related to my major, I was studying at the London College of Fashion, so every course was extremely relevant to my major. It complemented, and if not even complemented, but enhanced my education by giving me a broader perspective of how fashion works in other countries and how other countries view fashion as opposed to how we as students here in the U.S. look at fashion.
Even though I studied abroad twice, I am graduating on time in 4 years. I did do some AP work in high school, so that might have a little bit to do with it, but in general, my major and minors are pretty interdisciplinary. My major is international affairs, my minors are Spanish and women's studies. So all of those are pretty interdisciplinary, pretty flexible as far as what counts towards it. So I was able to make virtually all of the credits that I earned abroad count towards one of my degrees, whether it was my major or my minor. In Chile even, I took a dance class and I got Spanish language credit for that. I took history classes, I took anthropology classes, obviously I took political science classes as well. I took a feminist art history class, which counted towards my minor. So I had no problem integrating my study abroad coursework in with my degree here at UC.
I met a lot of people from a lot of different countries, but the French people were very, very welcoming to Americans.
Well, through a lot of my research on French culture and my readings, they say that the French are arrogant and they really don't like Americans, but I really didn't have that experience over there. A lot of them were very helpful in terms of, if I was lost, needed directions, or if I tried to order something from a restaurant and I couldn't pronounce it, they helped me. So
we don't see the value in certain things. For an example, in Ghana, we didn't have running water, or we didn't have trash cans. Just the little things like that we take advantage of in the United States has really affected my view on, how much I waste or how much water I use. I know I don't take half as many showers as I used to, just because, in Ghana I was using buckets and filling them with water to wash myself. Versus here, we have access to showers, we have access to running water, whether it be in a store or in your own home. We have access to that. So my value of the smaller things became greater because I went 6 weeks without those things and I was just fine. I had everything that I needed in terms of living a healthy lifestyle. Whether it was comfortable or not, I had everything I needed. Versus in America, we have more than we could ever possibly need. And my value is just, I only need a little to survive. So I tried to incorporate that into my lifestyle when I got back.
The advice I would give to someone who hasn't studied abroad is that study abroad as early as you could possibly do, because when you experience it for the first time, it's more or less like, an instant reaction that you just wouldn't want to stop it, because you just enjoy it so much that you want to keep doing it. So the earlier you start, the better.
For students who haven't studied abroad before, I would definitely advise them to keep an open mind and to be very flexible. A lot of crazy things will happen to you while you're traveling. When I was leaving to go over there, I got to Chicago and my plane was overbooked. So they threw me on a plane to Frankfurt and then to Paris. And then I had to find my own way to the hotel because I missed the airport reception. That stuff is just very typical with traveling.
If you feel any fear with regards to studying abroad, I would definitely face that fear. That is something that won't go away, especially if your fear is leaving our country and being on your own somewhere else. You'll find that once you do study abroad, you're going to be amongst a lot of other students, sometimes hundreds of other students who are in the exact same position as you are. Most of the time, many of them are from the United States and know exactly what you're going through. So there will be a comfort blanket for you there when you are studying abroad. You will have people from neighboring states, from states across the country, who watch the same television shows as you do, who are on Facebook 24/7, who know your life and will just really be able to ease your nerves and be with you while you're there abroad.
I think the biggest piece of advice I would give is to definitely plan accordingly for your study abroad. Give yourself a few months just to read through different materials, different books. And I would say don't just plan like where you're going to go visit, but also read about the culture and read about what the people in the country that you're considering, what their values are and how they relate to other people. And I think that would give you a huge advantage because it would allow you to really immerse yourself more in the culture because you can make friends wherever you're going to study that way.
The advice I would give somebody is to just do it. We have a tendency to think about what we want to do, and that's a good thing, but sometimes I think we talk ourselves out of doing those things because of fears we may have, especially with traveling. A lot of people may be afraid of traveling. They don't know what the other country's going to be like. They hear all these negative things in the media of other countries. So I think that just knowing that you want to do this and actually having the courage and trying to find people who will support you throughout this process, because I know at UC, Jill Reister just supported me above and beyond. My